Coming up next on Inside the NBA. As the second week of the playoffs get underway, the strain and tension begin to show. The Knicks are in Cleveland and they can't let up, while Seattle, trying to exercise the ghosts of last year's playoff, travel down the coast to LA. It's playoff time and the living ain't easy. And it's all next on Inside the NBA. We open the door on another week of the NBA playoffs here on Inside the NBA, along with John Sally, the Spider, formerly of the Detroit Pistons, a couple of rings to prove it. Now with the Miami Heat, I am Tim Brando. Great to have you with us. Now, I have to ask you, if you weren't here, what would you possibly be doing?
Boating.
Yachting. Dennis Conner might be calling.
Yeah. Lovey. No, I'd be doing something.
Well, make no question, he has been in the playoffs before. Let's take you back to round one, that remarkable series between the Hawks and the Heat, when the Heat was turned up by John Sally. Oh, by the way, let's see. Did I do that? I commit a foul? Oh, a little theatrical work because he's trying to become a member.
No, that was the charge.
Yeah. Well, actually, you're just trying to get your card in L.A. We know that.
Head. I have a good head. That's a good head.
Well, let's talk a little bit about tonight's game. The Los Angeles Lakers taking a 2-1 lead over Seattle. And now, if you were trying to exercise, if you're really trying to exercise the demons, if you're Seattle, it doesn't help this final score. 105-101. The Lakers win it by 4. Ceballos at 24. But again, after what happened against Denver, you know that the attention will be turned up now on the SuperSonics if they can't get out of the Forum.
Oh, they're going to have a lot of problems after. They're going to try to mess up the team, switch people, talk about what happened last year, this year. Last year was different because they were in first place. Now, the Lakers are playing really well. They lost that second game, the third game. And if they go in and lose the next one, it's going to be rough on them.
I've got to ask you about Sean Kemp's foul with about 24 seconds left against Vlade Divac, because Divac had committed himself. It was as if he bailed him out, and Vlade had missed his last couple of shots. Questionable decision?
Yeah, I think so. Just stay in between them, put your hands up. They tell me the same thing, and I wind up doing it because it's in a moment of battle, but you can't. You got to sit in there. You got to play defense, stay in between your man and the ball, and hopefully he'll miss the shot.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the East. Our first game tonight, the Cleveland Cavaliers against the New York Knicks. And it was an interesting game from start to finish. Coach Fratello felt that he had command of the game's tempo, and he did. Early on, they got out to a 12-4 lead. Mark Price, X marks the spot, and he was on it. Pat Riley was calling quick timeouts. As the game progressed, Charles Smith trying to become more active, and look at the defensive work by Tyrone Hill. He would later be benched in this game, though, a little overly emotional. But Smith got back into the act, and the shooting percentage in the second quarter improved for New York, and they only trailed by 1 at the half. Patrick Ewing becoming a bigger factor. Watch this play by Steve Coulter. You hang around for team photos if you can hit shots like that, and he's bounced around the NBA for some time. This game was close all the way down to the end. Nice reversal by Mason. It's a 4-point game. Cage going inside at 79-75. Nice defensive play as Phils draws the offensive foul. But then the Knicks turn it over right between Oakley's legs. And then Mark Price with a 2-point game off his knee. And the Knicks get it back. They foul John Starks. Mike Fratello with an opportunity. And he misses the second shot. So a 3 could win it, a 2 would tie it. Pat Riley concerned. They get the great look here. Danny Ferry wide open, can't get it done. And the final score, 83-81, as Mike Fratello's team does go down in this one. Ewing at 23-10. The Knicks now lead the series 2-1. And after the game ended, Nicole Watson got together with Charles Oakley.
You guys got the win tonight, but it seems like you had to fight tooth and nail to get it.
It was real to the nail. I think that, both teams came out and, it was back and forth. And, I think we went down to the free throws at the end, and Ferry missed a wide-open shot.
Well, it was, nice to get the opportunity to get in there and play in the second half. And just my shot felt good, and guys were looking for me, and, things fell. It would have been nice to make that last one, though.
It really would have been An interesting shot for Danny Ferry's career, if not just for Cleveland in this series. If you look at the first-round status, the Knicks now up 2-1. Pacers and the Hawks get together 2-0 in that one. And the series tied Orlando, Boston, and Chicago and Charlotte. John, if you look back at Danny Ferry's career, he's taken so much abuse because he hasn't been able to accomplish what a number 3 pick in an NBA draft would normally be expected to accomplish. This could have changed the texture of his entire career.
Plus, everybody was counting his money, saying how much money he got. He went over to Italy, didn't want to play in certain places, came back. This shot right here, when he got in the game, he had a really good game. He got in the game in the first 6 minutes, he had 9 points or 6 points, something like that. That would have made his career.
Fratello's team, though, clearly in control of tempo. You have to believe they're confident about Game 4 coming up later in the week. When we come back, Cedric Ceballos will join us from the Great Western Forum off an important victory against Seattle. We welcome you back. As promised, Cedric Ceballos off a 24-point performance and helping the Los Angeles Lakers to a 2-1 lead in the first-round playoff series against the Seattle SuperSonics. Now joins us from the Great Western Forum. He's got the tie on, and hopefully he's healthy with that left ring finger. Cedric, let's talk a little bit about your overall playoff performance after a 2-point performance in Game 1. Seemingly, you've now found your rhythm in this series.
Well, I think it was a situation, I had a real competitive game. I really worked hard, but shots just was not dropping. And sometimes that happens, so you just have to fight through it. You keep completing as hard as you can and, work on some shots when we're not playing, and hopefully they drop next time.
Cedric, you have a home court advantage now. Now you're like the Lakers of old. You got the crowd back. You got Magic clapping on the sideline. What's it feel like? What you think is going to happen next game?
Well, it's feeling really good. It was really important for us to try to get one of those wins up in Tacoma. We did so. Came home and took care of home court the first game. Game 4 is going to be really tough. I think in a situation with us, we have to be aware of Seattle's the fuel of fire, them worried about what happened last year, them being so remembrance on. They don't want to feel that again, so they don't want to go home early. They're going to try to fight as hard as they can to stay another game in this tournament. So for us to do that, we have to be as physical and intense and exciting as possible to try to end it.
Let me ask you, your middle finger, is that going to injure your game? You go left a lot and you do a lot of things with both hands. Is that going to take away from your game?
No, I don't think so. It just dislocated. Gary Vitti popped it right back in, and I kept playing.
Cedric, let's talk a bit about the energy that you guys get from Nick Van Exel. I mean, clearly this is a team that relies on Nick's energy to get you guys going. And obviously, as Eddie Jones goes and Cedric Ceballos go with Nick, that's how successful you guys are going to be.
Well, it always starts at the point position, and Nick being so enthusiastic and active as he is, when he gets his mind on playing and he plays tough, everybody, comes in like a chain. It's just like a chain reaction. We all fight hard. Everybody gets intense, and the crowd gets us going, and we get this good feeling that we came to play, and we're going to compete as hard as possible until the finish.
Cedric, thank you very much for taking time out. Congratulations on the 24. We hope that middle finger does well.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Cedric Ceballos. John, I think it's important to point out that from a general manager's standpoint, Jerry West, a Hall of Famer, a player, a former coach, is suddenly not getting the kind of credit he really deserves for putting this ensemble together in L.A. so quickly.
Yeah, see, before he had the Magic, he had Cap, he had Kareem, he had Norm Nixon, which we saw in the crowd. He had everybody in place. Now he had to take a whole new jigsaw puzzle and put it together, and he was smart by putting Nick Van Exel, like you said, in charge, and everybody else following his lead. When he doesn't play well, they don't play as well, but these young cats they're getting it together.
Shifting gears to the East, we're going to discuss a bit now Charlotte and Chicago. That is the feature game tomorrow by many people's accounts. How do you see that matchup moving back to the United Center?
I just feel Michael Jordan early wasn't as comfortable, and they're 1-1, and I think when they go back, it's going to be a away game for Michael Jordan and a couple of guys, and Charlotte's going to come in saying, okay, we played against him, we got it out of us, now let's get back home court advantage. This
is a Charlotte team that is coming off a dandy performance, particularly when you consider Larry Johnson's play and Alonzo Mourning's. And Alonzo Mourning matched up in many cases with Scottie Pippen, and that is the focus of what we believe is a very nice piece by Craig Sager as he visited with Larry Johnson.
The star in Game 1 was Michael Jordan. The spotlight in Game 2 was on Alonzo Mourning. But the most compelling matchup of this series is you, Larry Johnson, against Scottie Pippen. How would you grade your performance in this confrontation?
Oh, it's been, about average. I think about the same as me and Scottie through the regular season. We matched up against Chicago 4 times, and I think the matchup is about even, about the same because, Scottie has his strength against me. I have my strength against him. I love to go to the low blocks and play on the post, and Scottie is basically their point guard, bringing the ball up, and he's real agile and can play outside, and that's to his advantage. So, we just keep battling and going at it. He's a good competitor, great competitor. We just go at it and have fun.
Pippen makes you work on the defensive end, yet you still have to rebound and score on the offensive end. What have you seen in the first 2 games that you think you can create an advantage in Game 3?
We trying to put pressure on those guys as far as posting up, and not only Chicago Bulls, but each game we played this year, our main focus is going to the post, because we got good post players. We got good inside players. That's our strength. And our outside shooters are great shooters. And it's wonderful if we can get the ball inside, then kick it back out to those guys for wide open jump shots. And that's our focus. And
you've won 1 game, but you're still a long way from your destination.
And those guys are a long way from their destination, too. We're 1-1.
When you look at this team, this Charlotte team, Alonzo and Larry are the energy. Obviously, Muggsy directs traffic, but those 2 guys have to play well in order for them to have a prayer against Chicago.
That showed in the first game when Alonzo played well, played great, and then Larry played so-so. But in the second game, they played great together, and the general, the little general, the biggest man in basketball, Muggsy Bogues, took over. They need those 3, definitely those 3 to play well.
Our Duracell news of the day comes courtesy the NBA as they selected the Defensive Player of the Year. And our Duracell news of the day will illustrate that it is Dikembe Mutombo. Shot blocking is his game. And you know very well how he can change the texture of a game anytime he lines up on the floor.
He's going to go after every block shot. He's going to get 7, 8 a game. I said it early. He's going to block everything he can possibly be put up there.
When his offensive game comes around, you're going to be talking about the total package. He led the NBA in block shots, finished second in rebounding at 12.5, second only to Dennis Rodman during the course of the NBA season. And don't forget, Scottie Pippen is also a candidate. He finished second in the balloting. And, I think Scottie Pippen is one of the best all-around defensive players in the league.
I think he was the best all-around player this year in the NBA, if you ask me truthfully. And Michael came back and overshadowed everything, but he's definitely the best all-around player in the NBA.
When we come back, much more on the Lakers and the Sonics when we return with much more of Inside the NBA from our late-night studios here in Hotlanta.
In NBA history had won more championships than the Boston Celtics. In the '93 playoffs, however, they faced early elimination from a pesky young expansion team, the Charlotte Hornets. After losing a heartbreaker in double overtime in Boston, the Celtics, down by a game, clung to a 1-point lead in the closing seconds of Game 4. If they could avoid the Hornets' sting, the series would return to Boston. With 3.3 seconds left, Charlotte's Del Curry threw an inbounds pass to rookie Alonzo Mourning. Somewhere between the sound of the net and the jubilation of the Charlotte crowd was an ancient Celtic scream echoing to the rafters back in Boston, while the Hornets celebrated their first ever playoff victory. Nobody knows when great moments are going to happen, so stick with TNT for extensive playoff coverage. The playoffs continue on TNT.
The Los Angeles Lakers and the Seattle SuperSonics figured to be one of the most competitive first-round playoff series that you could find this year. It is living up to the billing. But Seattle is the team that's trying to exorcise playoff demons of the past, the recent past. And tonight, the folks in Tinseltown can get back in touch with the Screen Actors Guild because Diane Cannon and Jack Nicholson will be seen time and time again, particularly when things are going this well. Turn up the accelerator and find your man. This time it's Peeler. Oh, Jack, he's back. And Gary Payton, after falling behind 12-2, gets the quick running. On the other end, Ceballos. And Eddie Jones over the Rain Man Oh, and George Karl very concerned. But Van Exel with a stop and a pop. 18-2 run at one point for the Sonics to get back in it, but then Van Exel, a 10-0 spurt to close the half. Sean Kemp, the Rain Man, brings down his usual slam dunk on the break as the Sonics got back into the flow in the third. Detlef Schrempf hitting a three at the buzzer, and Del Harris concerned at the intermission. But Ceballos would take control, taking it to the rack and using the window nicely. Cedric Ceballos with 24 on the evening. And then Kemp on the offensive glass with the slam. Theatrical, yes, but the Sonics had breakdowns defensively, as once again Eddie Jones drives baseline and gets a slam. That's not supposed to happen in the defensive world of the NBA playoffs. Charlie Sheen, shh, you win. Lakers 105, Sonics 101. Ceballos at 24, and they take a 2-1 lead. Now, as we look at the Western Conference bracket, the Spurs have the edge on Denver, 2-0. The rest, Utah and Houston even. Portland and Phoenix now, with Phoenix looking good. And the SuperSonics now trailing the Lakers 2-1. Again, John, you know, if you look at the Western Conference, there are easily 4 teams that believe they have a chance, and rightfully so, of coming through.
But you got teams that run, they score. It's going to be a nice breakdown. I still got my boy Dennis Rodman and the Spurs coming out of the West, but you got Charles Barkley with his whole team, which is doing wonders.
I think the most compelling game now that we can look ahead to out West would be Utah and Houston, because this is tempo we're talking about, and a team that is the best defensive team in the West that just surrendered 140 points in Game 2 on home turf.
I know. Now they got to go back to Houston, where they got that electricity, they got that championship feeling. They got to go back and deal with Hakeem and Olajuwon, as Isaiah would say.
That's right. 2 players in one, Hakeem and Olajuwon. Our Foot Locker play of the day comes courtesy the Los Angeles Lakers. You remember that shot? Well, let me remind you of it if you've forgotten about it. The shot will be taken right here by Ceballos, and then Eddie Jones. You got to block out Seattle, because Eddie will fly through the air with the greatest of ease. No need for a trapeze in the circus of Los Angeles. They're pumped, and so are we. We've got another segment left in Inside the NBA.
The NBA playoffs on TNT. Phoenix tries to wrap it up in Portland. Suns Blazers tomorrow at 10:30.
But first,
Michael takes it back to Chicago. Hornets Bulls tomorrow at 8 on TNT.
we welcome you back to our Inside the NBA studios in Atlanta. Time now for our AutoZone Look Ahead. A quadruple hitter here on Turner Sports, beginning tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TBS. Indiana looking to close out the Hawks, and then at 8 o'clock on TNT, Chicago meets Charlotte. Game 3, which will be on TBS beginning at 9:30 Eastern Time, San Antonio and Denver, and then Phoenix and Portland will close it out on TNT, and then, of course, Inside the NBA will follow that right here. So make your plans to be with us. Now, we have some nuggets, not just Denver nuggets, but other points to be made about all of these games coming up. Let's begin with Pacers-Hawks. What comes to your mind, John?
I talked to Reggie Miller tonight, and they know that they have to win tomorrow because you don't want anybody hanging around. They want to rest, especially the way Cleveland and New York are banging one another. There are going to be some injuries, some fatigued bodies, so if they hurry up and get the Hawks out of there, which I don't know they're going to be able to do with Steve Smith's demeanor, but they got to try to do it.
Hornets and Bulls, what comes to your mind first and foremost with this series shifting back to Chicago?
Michael Jordan loves pressure. Scottie Pippen has to have a good game. They're going to be on their home turf. It's not the stadium, but they'll be in Chicago.
Suns Blazers. I think this is this Blazers team is caught in transition. What comes to your mind there?
I think, like you said, there's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of mix-ups on that team at the end of the year. They don't want to go out early. They got some pride. They want to sit around and fight, but you got too much with Charles Barkley and Marley and Tisdale want to play well this time. KJ is hanging around. He's not injured. You know, he's not any nagging injuries coming around. I think Phoenix is just going to hurry up and take it off.
Clearly, San Antonio is your choice coming out of the West, but what about Game 3 in Denver, given their past?
It's rough because they're used to taking over and taking you to 5. They have a lot of pride in Mutombo. You said, you know, defensive player of the year maybe. They're going to be on their turf. The high altitude. Dennis Rodman needs some oxygen. But if they want to be pros, like if they want to be champions, like Dennis said, they got to get past the third round.
Speaking of Dennis, a former teammate of yours, Dennis Rodman, clearly, I think, embodies what many teammates love in a player and what competitors on the opposite team can't stand. But you can say he makes an indelible impact on this team. Whether he's got the...
That's weird, man. That's too weird.
The lemon hair, the lime hair, a little lime with fuchsia. You got to love that. But he is much more than just flamboyance.
Yeah, he's a show. He's a showman. He's taking over, but, you know, like that right there shows he cares about the environment and what's happening in the world. And he also cares about his teammates. Watch this. He got to give you a little show. He has to point to, pumping everybody up. Dennis takes over. Takes over when it's necessary. Here you go.
Offensively,
I told you he can score.
Absolutely.
He can put the ball in the basket.
And he did so much more in the first half the other night. Now, this kind of negative energy last year was a problem against Utah, but it really energized his team last night, though it costed him $7,500.
It cost him a little bit of cash, but he's all right. See, Dennis is showing me he's going to play. That's a hog tie right there. When Tumbo jumped up and realized it was Dennis and didn't want to throw a punch.
But the difference is he will defend his players. He's the first to get in there to help Denny Del Negro, and that's what you love about him if you're a teammate.
Oh, yeah. See, that's a team play, and what he did with the Negro was a team play. He's an all-around team player. He plays from end to end, puts his heart out on the floor, and does what's necessary. This is a nice little lefty. I taught him that.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah, but I would have missed the shot.
Dennis is a guy that you teamed with for the Pistons for those 2 titles, and I have to ask you, you commented to us earlier, it took us into the locker room to some extent, about how the different personalities, Lambeer, yourself, Isaiah, and Rodman, prepared for big games. Why don't you pass along that to our viewers?
Well, I would say everybody did something different. I would be out in the hallway stretching my calves with James Edwards, Vinnie Johnson, Isaiah, Joe Dumas, and Bill would be in the steam room, and Dennis would be running up and down, getting ready to play for another 48 minutes, then he'd ride the bike. So everybody did something different until Bill said, you know, big man, let's go. That's what we call Dennis. And we get in the hallway, and we all became one. Even though we did different things to get ready, we were one when we stepped on court.
This is our last opportunity to visit this go-round in the playoffs in round number 1. And before you leave, I'd like to get your impressions, what you take with you from the games that you've seen here the last 3 nights, and what you see coming in the East and the West.
I see is a lot of parity as opposed to before when it was Lakers, Boston. And I see teams jungling up, throwing the ball up, let's go, let's play. It's going to be tough out of the East. The East is always tough, but the West, I don't know. I want the trophy to come back to the East only because I'm on the East right now.
Yeah, but the West is top-heavy. That's for sure. Thank you, John.
My pleasure.
We appreciate you bringing such a bold atmosphere to Inside the NBA.
Well, I like being here. I'd like to say thanks to everybody. And it was really, really nice. You all owe me money.
John Sally, thanks for being with us. Gary St. Jean, fresh off a new contract. I don't know about John, but Gary's got one. Gary's signed a new 3-year deal with Sacramento, so he'll be in a good humor when he joins us tomorrow here on Inside the NBA. So make your plans to be with us. The first round of the NBA playoffs, so very important, particularly when you have an opportunity to close out a team at home. The anguish and those moments are few and far between. Danny Ferry felt it as the iron was unkind. And the life of Riley is fine, thank you. But for Mike Fratello, just realizing that his team got the shot with a team that was just 4 games above 500 in the regular season could be enough. That'll do it. From Atlanta, Tim Brando saying so long. We'll see you on Tuesday.